The TV system we have probably requires a little bit of explanation. It's not overly complicated, but it is different from what you're used to back at home, I imagine. We have three controls down here on the right hand side. I'll explain each of them in a moment. What you should find is that your previous guest has left the TV system on, red button there. If that isn't the case, you can just turn it on up here and boot up the telly that way. I'm going to use this control, which is for the television, and the grey one here is for the satellite, which you'll be using most of the time, and that one's for the DVD. But let's start with this. Turn the TV on, and with a bit of luck you should find that it automatically tunes in to a UK channel. This will happen providing you've got a display down here on the satellite decoder which has a number in it. If it says standby or anything else, or it's completely blank, it means somebody switched it off, which is not really to be recommended, but it does happen. From this moment onwards, what is the easiest thing to do is to start using this one here, this grey one. Now, we're working off of a satellite dish down by the gates, which tunes into something well over 1,000 or 2,000 different channels from all over Europe and the Middle East. What we've done here is collate some of the usual ones that you'll be expecting to find into a favourites channel, and providing no one has messed around with this and the system, then it should all be quite straightforward. So here, simply all I'm going to do is press this button here, EPG, and you'll get a list of channels come up. And there you can see what you're used to seeing, obviously. And you'll find a lot of repetition down here, because there'll be about 30 BBC Ones and several Channel 4s, because believe it or not, the weather seems to affect the quality of the programs and the reception that we get. Either when it's incredibly hot, it tends to go a little bit fuzzy or packs up altogether, or if there's one of the tropical rainstorms that we can get down here with thunder and lightning and everything else, it can go a little bit odd. Most of China time, though, say 90% of the time, it's perfectly okay. So it's as simple as that. One uses this system here for operating the television. Now, if something has gone wrong and it is a little bit out of tune, there's a button here somewhere which says favourite. There it is, and that should always bring you back to, should always bring you back to the channels that we've tuned in. You'll see here at the top it says favourite. If we use the left and right buttons, we go through some other channels, satellites rather, that are floating around up in space somewhere, and I wouldn't recommend them. That some of the stuff on there is quite undesirable, shall we say. Now, if you do have to cause to turn the Optex box off, the satellite decoder, then simply use the red button there and turn it back on again afterwards. I'll show you what happens. There's a tendency for it to switch over to the French channel, French terrestrial television, if I turn it off, which I've now put it on standby, and there we are, we're now on French television. So you've got two choices here. By all means use French TV if you wish, in which case you're simply going to be using the black and white controls now to work your way through them all. So if you want to practice your French, do that, and you'll find only about half a dozen or so, because a lot of this is pay-per-view type stuff. Also on this black control we have the input button, and you can see here it's come up as TV. If I go now to AV1, that's the satellite, which of course is off right now, so you won't get anything. And if you go right down to HDMI2, that's the DVD player, which is also currently off. So they're the three that you need. HDMI2 for the DVD, TV for French channels, AV1, and they're all achieved by pressing this button here. So for the time being then, I'm going to leave it on the satellite. I'm going to turn the satellite back on, booting up, and with a bit of luck we shall get a channel come up in a moment. It's warming up. Can't remember what we left it on, channel 4 I think it was. Et voila. So a little bit complicated, but hopefully you'll soon get the hang of it. The DVD player is this small control here. I've only just noticed that in fact the eject button here has been broken. I'm sorry about that. I'll get a new DVD player, but we're just about to jump in the car and go back to England. So simply use this one here, the usual eject function, and out it comes. Hey! And it closes again. You'll find over here a selection, which I hope will keep you going, of DVDs, box sets, in case you get bored with the TV, and in case there's anything there that you haven't already seen. I hope that all makes sense. One last thing, this obviously is the router for the internet. There are instructions in the bookcase behind me if things do go wrong with that. If it does go out, and you do occasionally get outages, there is simply an on-off switch, which I think is right there. Just power it down and power it up again 5 minutes later. That normally does the trick. This little gadget here is the Sonos bridge for a speaker that's behind me on a lamp table. This is particularly useful if you want to listen to Spotify and enjoy some decent sound quality. There are in fact some instructions in this drawer here on how to set it all up if you're not familiar with it, and I'll leave you to play with that if necessary. You probably won't need it. Hopefully that all makes sense.